Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Greg Gilligan. I'm the Vice President of Operations for RVA 757 Connects. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for the latest edition of RVA 757 Connects Innovation Spotlight webinar series. This is the last one for 2023, and I think we've got a really gangbuster one today. We have a fascinating program. We're going to be talking about Virginia's Eastern Shore and how it's emerging as a hub for the aerospace activities, notably with the presence of Virginia Spaceport Authority's Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, which the acronym calls for MARS, and that's situated within the NASA's Wallops Island flight facility, and then also with Rocket Lab expanding its orbital vehicle launches there from the same location. So let me just get things rolling here. So let me just go over a couple things. As you can see, while we'll work from our sponsor, Bank of America, in a few moments, I'll give you an update on what's happening with RVA 757 Connect. Then we'll get into the meat of the program, and then we'll have time for question and answers at the very end, and then we'll have a follow-up after that. And also, just as a reminder, too, we are recording the sessions, and this session will be available on our website either later today or first thing tomorrow morning. And also, if you have any questions, please use the chat function and chat with the questions, and we'll be able to ask those questions during the Q&A function. So RVA 757 Connect is a nonprofit organization, so we rely on donations. One of our corporate sponsors is Bank of America. Here today to tell us more about Bank of America is Hans von Kruger, who is the bank's Senior Vice President and the Hampton Roads Market Executive. In his role, Hans leads and directs market strategy, fiscal strategy, and supports the market president. He's responsible for connecting the banking and investment resources offered through the bank's 8 lines of businesses to individuals and companies across Hampton Roads. Hans serves on a number of boards, including the Virginia Zoo, the Chrysler Museum, the Eastern Virginia Medical School Foundation, and RVA 757 Connects. So Hans, let me turn it over to you so you can tell us about Bank of America.
Greg, thanks very much. And good morning, good afternoon. As Greg mentioned, my name is Hans von Kruger, and I serve as the market executive for Bank of America here in Hampton Roads. And as he mentioned, I'm a proud member of the RVA 757 Connects. Thank you for joining us today for the Virtual Innovation Spotlight webinar series. As you heard, you'll be hearing a little bit more about the space mission initiatives on our Virginia's Eastern Shore. I'm proud to serve on the board of RVA 75 Connects. It's an organization that helps support shared economic development for our residents and communities across both Hampton Roads and the Richmond areas. At Bank of America, we've invested in shared prosperity for all of our communities that we call home. I'm especially pleased at the opportunity to sponsor today's program. As Virginia's Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, MARS, as you heard Greg say earlier, within NASA's Wallops flight facility on the Eastern Shore, it's one of our crown jewels among the Commonwealth's economic development assets. So it'll be interesting for all of us to hear a little bit more about what's happening across the water there. At Bank of America, we appreciate the cutting-edge technologies that Rocket Lab deploys to advance its space missions. And here with our team members at Bank of America, we leverage our powerful global footprint and extensive technology resources to assist and benefit our clients right here in the Hampton Roads market. And of course, my partner, Victor Branch, does the exact same thing up in the Richmond market as well. The collaboration that Rocket Lab is doing with their partner industry organizations at the Virginia Spaceport Authority mirrors the approach that we at Bank of America take in working collectively with our partners and our nonprofit partners across the region to promote innovation along the equitable, sustainable growth here in the Hampton Roads market. So we're hopefully going to be hearing quite a bit of information about what's transpiring across the water, but I think you're going to enjoy hearing from our 2 speakers as well. Greg, I don't need to go further into what we do at Bank of America. I think we're all here to listen to what Rocket Lab and what MARS has to do and what they have to say. So I'm going to turn this back over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Hans, for telling us a little bit about what Bank of America is doing. And also, thank you. Kudos to you for your service on our board of directors. We really do appreciate it. So let me tell you a little bit about RVA 757 Connects. Our mantra is as an organization is that we're bringing the power of convening, connecting, and collaborating to the mega region. We are a nonprofit organization, as I mentioned. We're dedicated to improving the economic success and quality of life for everyone in the Richmond area, which we call RVA, and the Hampton Roads region, which is 757. We are a network of leaders representing businesses, community, and higher education. We are advancing the Richmond and Hampton Roads mega region as the I-64 Innovation Corridor. As you can see, we are pursuing several priorities. And since this is the end of the year, I wanted to give you all a quick update on several of these rather than just focusing on one or two of them. So our I-64 GAP project, we had some big news last month when the groundbreaking took place on the widening project on Monday, November the 13th, with several dignitaries, including Governor Youngkin, Transportation Secretary Shep Miller, and VDOT Commissioner Stephen Britch. Also attending, I just want to make mention, was New Kent County Supervisor Patricia Page. She's there standing next to Governor Youngkin, and she championed the I-64 GAP project. She was a real force in New Kent County and among all of us in the mega region and pushing for the I-64 GAP project. Unfortunately, Patricia died 2 weeks after this groundbreaking ceremony from cancer. So we appreciate her and all of her support that she provided for that particular project. So construction started right after Thanksgiving, and that the first segment will be about 10 miles from Bottoms Bridge to the courthouse exit there in New Kent County. So you're going to be seeing construction when you travel back and forth between Richmond and Hampton Roads. The first segment is expected to be completed in July of 2027. The construction on the second segment, the next 10 miles, so to speak, will start 6 months later, and that will be actually from where it ends now in the Lightfoot area of the Williamsburg region towards into New Kent County, and then 6 months after that, in between, the final segment will start construction. The entire 29-mile GAP project is expected to be finished by the spring of 2028. Another one of our priorities is the efforts to get the Hampton Roads and Richmond mega region designated as a global internet hub. What we found is that the world's next global internet hub isn't just a city, but a mega region that extends from the Richmond region all the way to Hampton Roads. This map is a 4-foot by 3-foot map, and it explains visually how the I-64 Innovation Corridor becomes a global internet hub by combining the digital assets from both the Richmond area and the Hampton Roads area. There's an established list of core characteristics of what makes a global internet hub, and when you view these together with the Richmond and Hampton Roads regions, we have these core components. We also developed a strategic plan to make this happen. We met last year and early this year, and we came up with 10 strategies that were identified to make the I-64 Innovation Corridor one of the world's recognized global internet hubs. If you go to our website and you click on our homepage there, you'll be able to click on a map and get a better idea of what these visual assets are. If you would like a copy of this map brochure, please email me and I can send you a snail mail one. You can also, on our website, you can read the article in Virginia Business Magazine about the Global Internet Hub Strategic Plan that was discussed and unveiled during our annual Convergence event in late September. And you can read the full strategic plan and the executive summary on our 2 websites, both the RVA 757 Connects website as well as the globalinternethub.org website. Both of them are available there. We also are advocating for increased passenger rail service between Richmond, between and to and from the Richmond area and 757 regions. We're doing so by encouraging rail improvements not only in our mega region, but elsewhere, by working with the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority and the Department of Rail and Public Transportation. We've convened a couple of meetings this past year with those agencies, along with officials from the planning district commissions in the mega region. We also partnered with the Virginians for High-Speed Rail, along with the Southern Environmental Law Center, the Greater Washington Partnership, and the New River Valley Passenger Rail on a report called Virginia's Passenger Rail Keys to Further Success. This report is a comprehensive examination of the current state of passenger rail in Virginia and a roadmap for its expansion and enhancement. You can read the report on our website. We're also supporting the creation and extension of bike walk trails in the mega region because there's mounting evidence that investment in bike walk trails infrastructure is delivering many community benefits. The Fall Line Trail from Ashland to Petersburg has started groundbreaking started in Henrico County in October. Phases will be used over the next 12 months, and it all should be completed by the end of 2026. Richmond Sports Backers has been spearheading this effort for many years, and we are supporting them in any way we can. The Birthplace of America Trail, or commonly called Bow Trail, or what some are now calling the extension of the Virginia Capitol Trail, is another key focal point for us. There are two segments for the boat trail. One is from Williamsburg to Fort Monroe on the peninsula, and the other one from the Williamsburg area across the Surrey Ferry to the ocean front. But unfortunately, I mean, this needs $500 million needed for both segments. Local governments are very supportive of this. We need some traction to get the project moving forward, which is our plan for 2024. You can read about all of these different initiatives that we have and get updates on our initiatives on our website at RVA 757 Connects. So now let's go into what we're discussing today, which is how Virginia's Eastern Shore is emerging as a hub for aerospace activities, notably with the presence of the Virginia Spaceport Authority's Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, again, Mars, situated there on NASA's Wallops Flight Facility, and also with Rocket Lab expanding its orbital vehicle launches from this location. Rocket Lab is a California-based aerospace company. It has launched 3 successful missions from its launch complex 2 at Mars since January. Rocket Lab also is selecting Virginia's Eastern Shore for the launch and the manufacturing of its new Neutron rocket. Virginia has invested in the Virginia Space Authority and the Spaceport's special infrastructure during the last 2 decades. Mars, with its 3 launch pads, is one of only 4 spaceports in the United States licensed for the Federal Aviation Administration's Commercial Space Transportation Office for vehicle launch to orbit. Mars is the only U.S. launch site other than Cape Canaveral in Florida capable of launching to mid-inclination orbits that are critical to the Department of Defense, the intelligence community, and NASA. That makes this an alternative site for missions of national importance, particularly in the support of national security and human spaceflight, and the crucial contributor to the resiliency of the U.S. national launch infrastructure. So we're going to hear from 2 experts in this field today. The first we'll hear from is Aaron Kuipers. He is the Director of East Coast Test and Launch Operations for Rocket Lab USA. He joined Rocket Lab in 2018 and started building the launch site and teams at Wallops Island to support the Electron rocket, which we'll talk about. He'll talk about. Aaron moved to Wallops Island in 2011 to support the Antares launch operations. He joined the Virginia Space Authority as operations manager in 2015 and where he continued supporting the Antares launch program. Sean Mulligan is the Deputy Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer of the Virginia Spaceport Authority. Sean began his career at Mars as one of the original engineers to design, build, and test Pad 0A launch facility. He then served as the director of Mars from 2012 through 2021. So again, remember we do have the chat function. If you have any questions for the Q&A thing, please use the chat function. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm going to turn it over to Aaron, who will take the program away from us.
All right. Well, thank you, Greg. And while I do this transition here, I just want to thank Hans and B of A for sponsoring this event. We really appreciate it. Appreciate the support and getting the message out there, what we're doing on the Eastern Shore. So thank you. And Greg, I want to thank you and RVA 757 Connect for taking time to acknowledge us and allowing us to talk through the programs today. So just one second, I'll get the slides up. And just to confirm, you see the slides?
Yep, looks good.
All right, so my name is Aaron Kuipers. I'm the Director of Test and Launch Operations here for Rocket Lab at Wallops Island, what we call LC2, Launch Complex 2, and soon to be LC3 for LC3, Launch Complex 3 for Neutron. So we'll go through a little bit of the history of Rocket Lab here and talk about what we are as a company and then how we're putting our assets here at Wallops Island, and some exciting news and some really cool stuff coming up here. All right, so Rocket Lab at a glance. I'll just go through the numbers here. I think these are pretty impressive and really kind of talk about the history and where Rocket Lab is headed to become a vertically integrated company. We're making great strides in that effort, and I think these numbers kind of fortify that. So to start off, 171 satellites launched on Electron. We have launched 41 Electrons. So one would ask is, how do you get 171 satellites on 41 Electrons? For those that don't know, a lot of the satellites that we launch on Electron are the smaller CubeSat, smallsat satellites that you can fit multiples on one single Electron launch. So that's how that number correlates to 41 missions. We have over 1,700 satellites on orbit with Rocket Lab tech on that. I'll go into a little more depth of what that means and how we provide support for the other companies and satellites that are on orbit. We have 3 launch pads across 2 countries. We're going to focus today on LC2, but we also have LC1 launch pad in Mahia, New Zealand, and we'll talk about some of that and show some pictures in a little bit. We have over 1,700 or 1,750 team members across the globe. We'll talk about our locations. We have 5 facilities, Rocket Lab facilities in the United States that service us to become a vertically integrated company. And we are the second most frequently launched rocket in the US currently. This is one of our proud moments is we have 1 satellite that's been deployed to the moon for NASA. We called that mission Capstone. We launched that early summer last year. Our customers, so we'll talk about our customers just a little bit here. I think we have a really good spread across the market. Mostly, we're looking at 50% for commercial, around 30% for defense, and around 20% for civil. Some of the key customers that you probably see on the slide here are NASA, Space Force. One that we've worked with recently and launched here from Wallops is Capella Space. Black Sky, just to name a few here. All right, so I like this mosaic. This really shows the depth of what we've done with Electron. We are, again, the second most frequently launched rocket in the US. This only shows 36. This isn't the full suite of what we've launched. So I think this is really neat to see all the mission patches for these missions. And most notably, you can see our first launch was in May 2017. And then showing the last one here was actually a NASA mission, NASA Tropics mission that we launched satellites to survey hurricane activity down at the equator. That was launched on May of 2023. So we've covered a lot of ground in a very short period with Electron. It's a very stable rocket, and we're very proud to have service to our customers as we have. All right, a little bit more about the global footprint. Just looking at the map here, we'll just start from left to right. Our Rocket Lab headquarters, as Greg mentioned, is in Long Beach, California. We currently build satellites there, and we are opening up a new facility called Engine Development Complex that we 3D print engines for Electron, and we're working on the development and 3D printing for the Archimedes engine for Neutron. So we have a big crew out there and working hard on those aspects. Number 2 is the flight software, ASI, that's in Colorado, Littleton, Colorado. They work on flight software for trajectory and mission support. Number 3 is Sol Aero Technologies. They build the solar panels that go on satellites and service a lot of the satellite industry outside of Rocket Lab with their solar panels. Number 4, we have star trackers and reactionary wheels that are manufactured up in Toronto, Canada. That's Sinclair Interplanetary. Number 5, we have Separation Systems, a company called PSC that develops and manufactures the separation systems for satellites. Number 6, this is Rocket Lab Complex 2. You can see on the eastern shore. And then jumping over, we have our components in New Zealand. We have number 7 is our production complex in Auckland, New Zealand. We call it APC. Our engine test complex, also in New Zealand. And then number 9 is our LC1, Launch Complex 1, that's in Mahia, New Zealand. So one would ask, how does a rocket lab end up at Wallops? Good question. And I think that hopefully this answers some of those questions. We have strong support from experienced local partners with NASA, Virginia Space, and the state of Virginia. I'll go into a little more depth on that in just a minute. Wallops is capable of providing a high launch availability compared to the busier pads like the Cape. And we'll talk about that too a little bit. And then strong local talent and experience. So Virginia Space and NASA really bring a lot of talent and experience to the table and really help companies like Rocket Lab get established and allow us to work together and get to a streamlined function for launching rockets. So the dates, I think this is something I really want to highlight, is in 2018, Rocket Lab selected Wallops Island to launch Electron from. In 2019, the launch pad that you see on the right of the screen was completed. So again, we started in late 2018 with an agreement paper, and in 2019 we had a full launch pad ready to go. I think that just highlights everything above what we were saying about strong support from the state, from Virginia Space, and from NASA. We couldn't have done this on our own, and with the partnership of those entities, we were able to accomplish great things. That launch pad was functional in 1 year. So I just want to highlight that. I think that really highlights and exemplifies what we do with the partnerships here. In 2023, we had our first LC2 launch. If you do the math, you may say, okay, you completed the pad in 2019. Why didn't you launch till 2023? The short answer there is we were working on automated flight termination software, which is very complicated with NASA. It took some extra time to get that completed. So that was why the delay in the launch timeline. So immediately, once we got that automated flight termination software, we immediately showed that we can do this. We jumped right in January 2023 and launched our dedicated launch for Hawkeye 360. And that launch name was Virginia's for Launch Lovers. So we like to play on the Virginia logo. The second launch was followed shortly after, showing that we can do a tight turnaround. And again, this is on a brand new launch pad. So I think this really exemplifies what we can do together as a partner here with Virginia Space and NASA. We turned around in March of 2023 and launched our second launch, Stronger Together, for Capella Space. And then in June of this year, we followed that up with a HASTE mission, and I'll go into a little detail about that in a minute. But that's a suborbital hypersonic test for our U.S. Navy MACH-TB program. We demonstrated that successfully, and so basically we showed that Electron can launch orbital and suborbital very successfully, very quickly, reliably here from Wallops Island. Unrivaled launch infrastructure. So I touched on this a little bit. The launch pad you see on the top right, that's Mahia, New Zealand, beautiful peninsula on the eastern side of northern island of New Zealand. We have 2 launch pads there, LC1A, LC1B. This is where we launch majority of our Electrons from currently, looking to bring that cadence up here at LC2 to match that as well. If you look at our launch licenses across the 3 launch sites, we have 132 launch slots available annually. So we're licensed to launch that many. We hope to see in the future that we can meet that. We're a critical national infrastructure asset for the U.S. government. As you can see, our government customers like riding on Electron, and we have demonstrated that on multiple missions for the government. We do have a quick, tight turnaround that we can meet. We have ways to go through contracting quickly and get them to orbit very quick on Electron, being a dedicated launch. We're the world's first private FAA licensed orbital launch site. And as I mentioned, we can do a 24-hour rapid call-up for launch and defense needs and constellation replenishment for the government as needed. And we have a bilateral treaty allowing U.S. rocket to launch outside of the U.S. So I mentioned earlier the HASTE program. The HASTE, the acronym is Hypersonic Accelerator Suborbital Test Electron. A lot to say there. It's easier to use the acronym HASTE. But we demonstrated this mission again in June of 2023. This is a suborbital mission that is dedicated to providing testing for hypersonic flights. We can use, we're leveraging, it's essentially a electron that's been enhanced for suborbital. So we're leveraging all of our electron heritage into this program. And we are looking forward to this and starting to see a lot of interest in the support for the company and for the government. All right, so the next exciting piece that I mentioned earlier is going to be LC3, Launch Complex 3 here at Wallops. We are going to launch, this will be the dedicated launch site for our new rocket called Neutron. To give you a size comparison of what Neutron looks like compared to Electron, if you look on the right, you can see that Electron is there. It looks like a little pencil. It is actually 55 foot tall, 4 foot in diameter. And if you compare that to what we are building now, Neutron, that will be 140 foot tall and roughly 21 foot in diameter at the base. So it's quite a bit larger rocket, and we'll go into a little bit of detail there about what it is. It'll be tailored for constellations support. It looks like as we look across the market, we're seeing that there's a gap or a need, a void that we need to fill with medium launch. So that's the market that we're going for with Neutron. We are a direct competitor to SpaceX's Falcon 9, which has flown. We're designing our proposal of landing and reusability, so Neutron will be reusable, and some interesting aspects of that we'll talk about in a few. And this is basically a low dollar development program, and we're looking for our first launch around 2024. So here's a picture on the right showing Neutron's capability of the captive fairing. So the fairing stays attached, and you can see it here deploying second stage and example spacecraft on that second stage. So the fairing will open, the second stage will deploy, fairing will close, and the vehicle, stage one, returns back to either launch site or downrange. So again, a little bit of details about Neutron. The height is 140 foot tall, roughly. Fairing diameter is 16.4 foot. We're looking for a payload capacity around 13 ton. Mission profiles will hit LEO, MEO, and GEO, and interplanetary. Reusability, first stage in the fairing. So the first stage, as I mentioned, and the fairing are captive. They stay together. They'll return either to launch site or downrange. And engine type is LOX, liquid oxygen, and methane for the fuels, or for the fuel. The engines, Archimedes, that I mentioned that we're 3D printing in Long Beach, and we'll be testing those in Stennis and then shipping those out to Wallops for integration. We'll have 9 of those engines on first stage and 1 on second stage. And the structure compared to Electron is going to be carbon fiber composite. So what's Wallops' role in Neutron? You can see here on the top right slide, the tan patch in the middle of the slide. That's the new launch site called LC3 that we're working in partnership with Virginia Space on and developing that launch site. The picture below is a facility that we have right outside the NASA Island Gate that is a quick building that we put up that we can start integration and start processing in immediately. So that building is standing currently. Production and final integration will occur here at Wallops, payload integration, and obviously the launch. We currently have 19 people employed here at Rocket Lab, and by the end of next year, 2024, we're looking to have about 44 online. And the program will grow as time goes, so we'll be adding more heads in time. I believe that's the end of my slide. I'll turn it back to you, Greg.
Great, thank you. If you stop sharing, then I will continue the program. That was fascinating. I want to hear more about the reuse of hold on one second here while I get back to make sure and get down to hold on one second. There we go. And now we will turn it over to Sean.
Thanks, Greg. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. Well, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. We're really honored to have the opportunity to tell you a little bit about the Virginia Spaceport Authority. I want to thank RVA 757 Connects, and I'm really personally very excited to hear about the advocacy for the GAP project and high-speed rail and things like that as a regular traveler between Norfolk and Richmond and DC. So that's great. We really love to see that expanding. I also want to thank Hans from Bank of America. Putting funding towards programs like this is really important to help develop the region. So, who am I? I'm Sean Mulligan. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and the Deputy Executive Director for the Spaceport Authority. I've been with the authority working at the Spaceport for 14 years, and I actually started helping design and build the Antares launch pad, Pad 0A, working with Aaron when he was on the orbital science side. And then eventually he came and we drew him over, and he ended up joining the Spaceport team for a while, and now he's off doing fantastic things with Rocket Lab. So he and I go way back, and we look forward to kind of continuing that going forward. We've seen a lot of change at the Spaceport. I think Hans or Greg mentioned before, it's this crown jewel for the Commonwealth that not a lot of folks know about. We're trying to do a better job of getting the word out of what incredible things are happening inside of the Commonwealth and the world of aerospace. And that's kind of why I'm here today, is to tell you what's going on there. So we're very much at an inflection point. We see a lot of transition and growth coming. We've been adding facilities, we've been building the team, we've been bringing in customers like Rocket Lab that are now starting to kind of flourish, and the activity is just picking up. So if you can go to the next chart, please. Perfect. Thanks. So who is the Virginia Spaceport Authority? We are a political subdivision of the Commonwealth. We are the full name is the Virginia Commercial Spaceflight Authority. We were modeled legislatively after the Port Authority. We actually, our corporate headquarters, I'm in the World Trade Center in Norfolk right now. We're on the same floor as the Port Authority. And so we partner with them where we can. And we actually were originally established as a partner of ODU, Old Dominion University's Research Foundation. So they were a big part of how we got stood up back in the mid-90s, 1995. And so the Virginia Spaceport Authority is the team, is the organization, and then we own and operate the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, so Mars, and that's our primary kind of operating function. Is we run a spaceport and we exist to drive economic development in the world of aerospace for the Commonwealth, as well as to provide STEM and research and development opportunities and technology development opportunities related to aerospace for the Commonwealth. I mentioned we're headquartered here in Norfolk. This is a corporate office, but most of the folks are up on the Eastern Shore in the Wallops Island area. We're about a 125 person organization, and the large majority are up on the shore. We're a very operations forward team. There's a large majority of technicians, engineers, logisticians, folks that are operating and building launch infrastructure that is enabling companies like Rocket Lab and others to come and choose Virginia as their home for launching rockets. We are a tenant organization within NASA's Goddard. NASA Goddard, so that's the center, but the actual facility is Wallops Flight Facility. So again, we operate almost like an embassy inside of this federal facility. So the Commonwealth has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in launch pads and facilities and things like that. And we build these and operate them on a commercial basis for our commercial companies. And we have a Space Act agreement, which allows us to partner with the federal government and NASA Wallops. And they are a very important partner of ours. We have this really exceptional public-public partnership type thing where we can buy services and leverage the expertise that has been existing at Wallops. They've been around for 75 plus years, launching 16,000 plus rockets, mostly suborbital, but a lot of really excellent technology and capability there. And we're able to partner together, bringing state investment and a commercial front door to bring in companies like Rocket Lab. And just the last point here from kind of who we are one of only 4 vertically licensed launch spaceports. So there's only 4 places with a public spaceport license to operate for vertical launch. And that's important because that's where the large majority of all launches that are carrying orbital really heavy payloads are coming from one of these vertical spaceports. And they're not all redundant with each other. So the 2 on the West Coast in Kodiak, Alaska, and Vandenberg Space Force Base in California primarily launched to a polar orbital regime, so going over the poles. And then on the East Coast, you have Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center down in Florida, and then you have Virginia, which is primarily going equatorial. We can do some polar type stuff depending on how you launch from the East Coast as well. But the point is that there's very limited amounts of places for you to launch vertically to orbit, and that's why it's really important to support spaceports and have these as backups to each other. And one of the things that we're endeavoring to do is to try to establish ourselves, and we're making real progress here as a limited backup to Cape Canaveral down in Florida. Next chart, please. So I talked through a lot of this. This comes right out of the our enabling language, but we exist. Why are we here? To develop and enhance infrastructure that provides efficient, safe, low-cost access to space. So we are not only the operators of this infrastructure, we build it as well. So we partner with some really great suppliers and construction expertise to build launch pads, to build facilities that make it easier for rocket companies and payload companies to come and do business in Virginia and on the Eastern Shore. As important, we have a education and research leg of the stool that is, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a future chart, but that's another kind of a really critical part of why we're here. And, that all generates economic development for Virginia. So more on that to come. So what I have next is a 2-minute video. You can't do one of these without showing some rockets launching. So we have a really great video here that's going to kind of talk about the year of 2023, and I'll let it talk for itself here. So thanks, Greg. If you press play.
And Mars Monthly, let's go to space, and CEO of Virginia Spaceport Authority, Ted Mercer.
Mars Monthly, talking with a crew from the Virginia Spaceport Authority.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, don't have to see it again, but perfect. All right. The facilities, I want to just highlight, what you just saw flash through there. So 3 operational launch pads, pad 0A in the top left corner. This is a liquid fueled. This is our largest launch pad right now. It supports Northrop Grumman's Antares program. And so LOX, kerosene, fuel farm, hydraulic systems that lift the rocket up, big tall water tower that provides deluge for the facility, and for the acoustic suppression ring, which helps dampen the sound waves that come off when you launch the rocket to kind of protect the vehicle and also protect the pad as well. So that's pad 0A, and pad 0B right next to it. This is our first launch pad. This is currently built to support solid rockets. So the Northrop Grumman Minotaur class vehicle fly from here. We actually flew a mission to the moon from Virginia called Laddie. It was a NASA payload back in 2014, I believe, launched from Virginia. That's a really cool thing to be a part of. And we're upgrading that facility right now to add some liquid capabilities as well to mirror on a smaller scale what exists at Pad 0A. And Pad 0C, so our nomenclature is Pad 0C. You can see the alphanumeric stuff here, but this is what Aaron referred to as LC2, so it's kind of ubiquitous there. This was, and I got a chart that talks to LC2 in a little more detail coming up. So this is off topic of launching rockets, but we do have an unmanned aerial systems airfield at the north end of the island. So this is a dedicated, purpose-built drone runway where we do unmanned systems, and it's pretty busy. You can imagine it's on a federal facility. There's certain frequency controls and airspace controls that NASA can help us bring up. That can provide capability to our customers. We have aspirations and plans as well to add a port facility, a seaport facility, kind of sticking off the end of this airfield. We've done the environmental assessment work for that, and we hope to add that in the future to add a sea access out to the Atlantic. A cool kind of sidebar there on that UAS airfield. We actually partnered with VDOT to help build that because they're really good at building roads, and they came in and helped us build that back in 2017-ish, maybe earlier than that. MARSCOM is our command building, so that's our kind of headquarters up on the shore, and has some really cool capabilities. There's some control rooms in there. There's some security features and customer space, so it's our kind of hub to operate all of our facilities out of. It's outside of the gate. It's on, right outside of the gate. It's about 8 miles from the actual launch facilities. The ICF, so that's the Integration and Control Facility. So that's a Virginia Space asset that we built back in 2018, and we have a long-term lease with Rocket Lab to operate out of there. So that's Aaron's office building. It's where they can bring electrons in and integrate with payloads. They can also, and satellites, and they can also have a really sophisticated control room, which can provide control not only for launches from here, but also from the New Zealand as well. So they can support both ways from Virginia. So something a lot of you may not know what it is, but it's critically important to a spaceport is a PPF. So a PPF is a payload processing facility. Payload is equivalent to a satellite, you can imagine. So the actual thing that's going up to space to do a job needs to get integrated into the rocket and inside of the fairing before it goes out to the launch pad and launches. And to do that, you need a really clean, austere, secure, and facility that's really big as well to allow for your rocket integration and your payload integration before it goes out to the pad. This was an investment the Commonwealth made back in 2018, and it's been critical for our expansion of capabilities here. It allows us to go and support more national security missions and others as well. You can do hypergolic fueling in this facility, so that's some of the really specialized fueling that goes on the satellite itself. So that was a building that we're really proud of. It's kind of one of our crown jewels of the spaceport. And last one here to point out, and Aaron mentioned it as LC3. This is that tan area, so the sandy part where we've started the site work for our newest launch pad, Pad 0D, which is going to be another multi-user launch facility we're going to develop, and then we'll enable the launch of Neutron. And I think if you click one more time through here, I only had eight blocks. So this last one, Aaron showed it as well, but this is where the temporary building for the first starting of the Neutron development on the shore. This is right outside of the fence. We own a parcel of land right there, and we're also in work in developing the first permanent building to support that manufacturing for Neutron going forward. So that as well is happening right now. One more. So our customers, we've talked a lot about Rocket Lab, and I wanted to just highlight, you can see the missions flying up here of what we've done with one of our other primary customer right now in Northrop Grumman. That's been from Orbital Sciences to Orbital ATK to now Northrop Grumman, and have done missions on the Centaurus program and also the Minotaur program that I spoke to. They have been doing this in addition to the Minotaurs, which have been primarily government. They've been only government missions supporting DoD and LADI, which was to the moon. The Antares program has been supporting the International Space Station resupply. So this is one of two places in the country that are sending supplies and science experiments and taking the trash out from the International Space Station. We're doing that from the shore and have been. I forget how many hundreds of thousands of pounds of supplies and gear have gone up to this International Space Station from here, but it's a really incredible capability that not a lot know about, and Northrop Grumman is investing to continue expanding that program out and to enhance the Antares program going forward, which we're looking forward to continuing. And the bottom there, we are actively working with additional customers to bring more launch providers to the spaceport. Next chart. I think we went backwards. Cool. So quickly, Aaron hit this already, but wanted to just highlight, he mentioned we built this launch pad within a year for Pad 0C. It was a really excellent team effort, and that getting that capability ready to go that quickly was really important to us, and it's just a testament to the team we've built up over the years to be able to do that. If you go one more, I just wanted to highlight one mission from that launch pad. Aaron mentioned it. Virginia is for launch lovers. So this is our first launch. We worked really hard to bring this capability here, and it had a lot of firsts for us. It was the first launch from 0C. It was the first of this, cutting edge critical safety system in the autonomous flight termination. That was developed in partnership with some really great work at NASA Wallops and Rocket Lab, and it was the first autonomous flight launched from our spaceport. And then Hawkeye 360 was the satellite payload provider, and they're a Virginia company out of Herndon. So kind of bringing it all together in the Commonwealth, a payload from a rocket integrated in Virginia and then launched from a Virginia spaceport. And just want to point out, we had Governor Youngkin and Peter Beck, the CEO of Rocket Lab, here for supporting one of those events. All right. So I wanted to highlight this. So we have purposefully dedicated a lot of our energy towards education and STEM specifically. It's not just something we do on the side. It's purpose driven. It's important to us. It's part of why we exist. We've hired a couple years ago a director of educational programs who's doing a phenomenal job connecting us to the strong education system within the Commonwealth. And one of the ways I think about it, I want the spaceport to be an educational hub, a recognized asset for the Commonwealth. Growing up, fifth grade was everybody went to Colonial Williamsburg. That was the trip you did. And I envisioned that for the students of Virginia, like some year you get to come out and walk around on the spaceport and the launch pads that exist in your backyard. So that's something we're going to try and do. Another really big important part of our STEM piece is an internship program. So we set up an internship program back in 2010 our first two interns, Joel and Walter, came out of Virginia Tech and University of Maryland. They are aerospace engineers, and they've been with the company since 2010. They were and they continue to be the lead engineers from our side supporting the Electron launches. So they've grown up through this organization and are now key players in launching rockets from Virginia. Something we're very proud of is 20% of our workforce are former interns from one time or another. The excellent video you saw earlier in this presentation was developed by Carter Birch, who's also a former intern of ours. So we did that internally through his hard work. All right. And just kind of wrapping it up here. So why do all this? Why invest in these assets? Why fight for building launch pads and bringing companies like Northrop Grumman and Rocket Lab? Because it has a very material economic impact for us. We did a study. We hired the Old Dominion University's Dragas Economic Analysis Center, and they're the same folks that do the State of the Commonwealth report every year. And we did one in 2018, and we updated that just this year. And even facing the headwinds that we've seen over the last 5 years, right, and specifically COVID, but also there was a real decline in non-employee federal spending locally. So in the region we looked at, we saw a significant increase in employment, and not just an increase in that employment, but jobs. And this is kind of measuring not just our employees, but we call it the Wallops region, economic region cluster. That's the word, cluster. So this is ourselves, this is NASA, this is our customers. There's a strong Navy presence, the Surface Combat Systems Center up there. So all of the aerospace work that's happening in this region is driving close to a $1.5 billion output. And the jobs that are creating are paying 2 times over the prevailing other jobs that are in the region there. And what's really incredible is every dollar appropriated for Virginia Space by the Commonwealth is showing a $2.9, so almost a $3 return coming back to the taxpayers. So it's real impact. We're doing important things, and it's kind of borne out in the data. And one last chart here. So kind of the get off the stage here is that we are doing the economic development that we've set out to do. We're trying to create, and we are making an impact in the STEM world and education to create the workforce for tomorrow. So Aaron has those people to fill these jobs, to build rockets and launch them. And not to be lost is we are not just an asset for Virginia. We are a unique national asset, providing a backup to Cape Canaveral and enabling national security and civil space missions to fly, which wouldn't happen without the investment and commitment, the incredible commitment that has come from Richmond. And I think that's all I got. I just want to point out, thank you, Lillian, if anyone's looking for tours, we do have an access point on our website that you can get to, and we're always trying to bring people out to show them what's here, and there's nothing quite like walking around on a launch pad to get the scale of the thing. So with that, I will stop talking.
Well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. In fact, Lillian has promised me that next time there's a launch, she's going to invite me out there to watch it.
You're in. So, there's nowhere you can see a launch closer in the United States, so that we have a really excellent viewing area.
Exactly. Hey, so let me just ask a couple quick questions when we have, a chance. We have a couple minutes left. But Aaron, let me ask you, what does 2024 hold for Rocket Lab in Virginia, if you can?
Yeah, yes, sir. Great question, Greg. Lots of exciting stuff, to be simple, pointed. What we're after is getting Electron launches. We have several on the books for 2024 to continue our cadence. And as you saw in our charts, and as Sean showed, Pad 0D or LC3 for us, we're going to be populating that with water tower, commodity tanks, and materializing that into a full-scale operational launch pad in 2024. So that's what's heading our way, and that with that a bunch of jobs to support all of that infrastructure.
And I know, Aaron, you answered this. There's a question for the audience about is the Electron rocket, is it recovering something that will eventually happen from Wallops Island?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Dylan online asked that. I answered back. That is definitely in the plans for our future. We don't have anything near term that we're targeting or can discuss, but we definitely want to recover electron in the future at Wallops. We're perfecting that down in New Zealand at our LC1 launch site, and we'll eventually bring that up to Wallops. So, great question.
So here's another question for the audience. This is really for maybe this is for you, Sean, but what's the 20-year forecast for Wallops in terms of how is Wallops dealing with the ever encroaching water? NASA has invested in sand replenishment. So what's it going to take to continue this, for the next 20, 30 years?
Yeah, it's a great point. They're actively working to build out the beach. We're on a barrier island, right? And that's you kind of have to do that to launch over the ocean. So you can't really fight against that. But they being NASA, have done some really innovative development with some of the breakwaters, partnering with the Corps of Engineers to try to start directing the sand to accrete to where you want it to go. So they're trying to work there. We do things like trying to build up critical systems at certain heights just to think out in the future. And the other like really significant investment, not really related directly to this, but there's a causeway that goes over to the main island that connects you to the shore, and that's a major NASA project that they've got funding for that is coming forward. So they're building a new big bridge to go out to the island as well.
Here's a question maybe for Sean from one of our audience members. With the growing space manufacturing economy on the horizon, has VSA explored a site for reentries? Would this potentially new spaceport fall under VSA? Is there any potential that the reentry site would be somewhere near the mega region to take advantage of the ports, airports, and other commerce?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. And I would say we have not looked at landing sites down here in the Hampton Roads area. However, we are looking at this time, but we are looking at landing zones on the Wallops Island proper. So that's another area where we're partnering with NASA Wallops to try to find a place to give Aaron a parking lot for his rocket as it comes back. So that is in our strategic plan. And but we're very clear-eyed when it comes to the reusable vehicles are going to be the future, and we want to be positioned to support them.
And let me just ask this last question from John Martin, our CEO. Could Virginia become the home to the space industry, space tourism, as this industry eventually takes off?
Well, we're going to be a big player in it, right? So we have excellent support, like I said, from Richmond that are looking forward and seeing what it could be. We are a little bit at the tyranny of geography and space as comparison to kind of Florida and down to the Cape. We're trying to maximize the amount of launch capability we can from the island we have, and we're trying to be as flexible and kind of reactive as we can to support the growing customer needs. So we're trying to listen to the commercial world of what's needed, and we're seeing a really sharp increase in the amount of launch support that we can do from here. So I'd say we're going to be a really strong player for years to come.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I really do appreciate both of you, Sean and Aaron, providing some great information about the space industry here in Virginia. And again, as you all mentioned, it's kind of that gem that nobody really much knows about. So I really appreciate it. Let me just briefly tell you what's happening next as we wrap up the program. Again, you can see our focus of our four major initiatives on our website if you'd like to go check those out. Reminder that you can rewatch the recording of this webinar and any of our webinars on our website at RVA 757 Connects. They're all available both from this year as well as from last year. And you can learn more about the I-64 Innovation Corridor and how it's becoming the world's next global internet hub by going to globalinternethub.org website that we operate. And then next month, our next month on January the 3rd, 2024, from noon, we will learn about IV Watch, which is a Newport News-based company that has developed game-changing technology to monitor and detect IV infiltrations, which can result in scarring, skin necrosis, nerve damage, and even amputation. The non-invasive technology continuously monitors a patient's IV status, using advanced optics to identify in real time to tissue changes that indicate potential infiltration. So this will be a program. We'll be sending out some information about this in the next couple of weeks, but mark your calendars for our next virtual innovation spotlight on Wednesday, January 3rd at noon to 1 o'clock. Again, thanks to our sponsors, Bank of America. We really appreciate, Hans, your support for all you do. And again, it's a special thanks to Aaron and to Sean for participating in today's webinar. It was an awesome program, very informative. We appreciate it. Again, thank you to all of you, for everyone for joining in today, and happy holidays to everybody. Hope to see you next month on Wednesday, January 3rd. Take care and have a great day.